Stay tuned for a full hour of laughs. Hello there, this is Victor Ives on the Golden Age of Radio Theater. This is the program where we turn back the clock and relive those golden moments of radio's yesteryear with some of the greatest radio shows of all time. I hope you're in the mood to laugh this time because we've got a full hour of comedy for you from 1945, Fibber McGee and Molly. And then later, Edgar, Bergen and Charlie McCarthy with special guest stars Jayne Powell and Orson Welles. But first, now he would be much deeper than that. Orson Welles. Maybe we could slow the tape down. Now don't have time. First, from January 9th, 1945, Jim and Marion Jordan as
Fibber McGee and Molly. Fibber McGee and Molly, with Bill Thompson, Gail Gordon, Arthur Q. Bryan, Dick LeGrand, and me, Harlow Wilcox. If there's anything the Squire of 79 Wistful Vista likes to do, it's surprise his wife. And if there's anything that gives his wife cold chills, it's her husband's surprises. Get a load of him now, coming in the front door with a bag full of mushrooms he picked in the woods. As we meet, Fibber McGee and Molly.
Hey, Molly, I got a surprise for you. Hey, Molly, look what I got.
Animal, vegetable, or mineral?
I'll give you a hint. What do you like with steak, kiddo? Piled way up high on top of it like this.
Mashed potatoes.
Oh.
McGee, now, if you brought home a paper bag full of mashed potatoes...
You're just not used to high-class eating, Molly. Here, look.
My goodness, mushrooms.
Yep. Make a dinner fit for a king. And you're looking at His Majesty Fibber the First. They're beauties, ain't they?
Lovely, but they're certainly dirty.
Huh?
You'd think a careful grocer would at least clean them before he sold them.
Grocer? No grocer ever laid a mitt on one of these. I picked them myself.
You pick...
You betcha. You remember Nat Wolf?
Yes?
Well, I picked these mushrooms in that little patch of woods across the river from where the brewery is that Nat's uncle owns a half interest in it.
Yes, but dearie...
My gosh, since this warm spell set in, they're popping up all over the place. And nobody picking them. Had the place all exclusive to myself with nobody else there.
You don't suppose that's because other people might be afraid they were toadstools, do you?
Toadstools? That's ridiculous. If they'd have been toadstools, I wouldn't have picked them, would I?
That was my question.
Boy, don't they look good. I've had my puss puckered up for a mess of mushrooms ever since for I don't know how long ago. And these are the best kind, too. Little button mushrooms.
Yeah, that's the kind of a button you ring for an ambulance with. You're not actually planning on eating those things.
Not eating them? Why, certainly we're going to eat them. Steak and mushrooms. That's the menu for tonight. Why, you love steak and mushrooms.
Look, dearie, I'm not easily frightened, but I don't want any mushrooms picked by amateurs.
What?
I'd just as soon skip rope with a high-tension wire during an electrical storm.
Oh, now you're just being...
Hello, Mrs. McGee. Hello, Mr. McGee.
Hello, Alice. I didn't know you were home.
Hi, Alice.
I just got home. Were there any phone calls for me or anything?
Just one, Alice. Sergeant Carling called.
Oh, yes, Cliffy Carling. He's the one that's in the camouflage corps.
Oh, I remember that guy. He used to stand out on the lawn disguised as a tree. Never knew whether to shake hands with him or prune him.
Yeah, but you cured him of that when you started to carve Fibber Loves Molly on his stomach.
Yeah.
Where is he now, Alice?
Well, I don't know, but he said he was sending me a boomerang.
A what?
A boomerang. That's one of those sticks you can hit yourself in the head with if you throw it far enough.
Oh, he must be in Australia.
Well, I think so. Anyway, he says he sees a lot of those birds that think they're alone when they stick their heads in the sand. What do they call them?
Isolationists. Hey, Alice, don't make any plans for dinner. We're having steak and mushrooms.
Steak and mushrooms? Oh, jeepers.
Yep.
I love mushrooms, Mr. McGee. I was going to a chop suey place, but now you couldn't get me out of here with a 10-ton truck driven by Van Johnson.
Tell Mr. Johnson to stop for me and honk twice.
This is really going to be a treat, Alice. I picked the mushrooms myself.
Well, I simply... What?
He picked the mushrooms himself, Alice. He can tell a mushroom from a toadstool from a mile away, and I wish he had.
But don't people get sick from... isn't picking mushrooms in the woods sort of dangerous?
Oh, sure it is. Liable to get pneumonia walking around on the wet grass. I always wear my overshoes.
Oh, no,
I'm glad one person around here appreciates the finer things to eat, Alice. Mrs. McGee doesn't think she wants any mushrooms.
Mrs. McGee gets cold chills up and down her girdle at the very thought.
Okay. I guess Alice and I can eat all of them. Hey, Alice, we'll have us a piece
Oh, gee, I just happened to think, Mr. McGee, I promised Monty Fraser I'd go out with him tonight for dinner. I forgot this was Wednesday.
But this is just Tuesday.
Oh, I mean Tuesday. Anyway, I thought it was, jeepers, I better run up and get into my mink-dyed rabbit. I'm terribly disappointed, Mr. McGee. I love mushrooms, but, well, see you both later, I hope.
Why is everybody so scared? Anybody think I didn't know a real mushroom when I saw it?
Well, tell anybody to move over and make room for me.
Well, I don't care what anybody else has for dinner. I'm having steak and mushrooms. And I'll get somebody to eat them with me, too. Hand me the phone.
Here.
Thanks. Hello, operator. Give me Dr. Gamble's office at the north end of Mert. Is that you?
Oh, dear.
How's every little thing, Mert? Says, What's say, Mert? Your old man. Hiring a kite again, eh?
Isn't that awful?
No, he couldn't buy a kite for his little nephew, so he's hiring one for a week. What say, Mert? Okay, thanks a lot. Doc's not in. Hey, where's my cookbook, Molly? I seen a recipe in there for mushroom gravy that's out of this world.
Well, I don't know, but you will be, too, if you eat it.
Come on, Molly, you know the cookbook I mean. That old-fashioned one that kids around about using butter. Oh, I know where I put it.
Where'd you put it?
Right here in the hall. Straighten out that closet one of these days.
We'll get back to McGee and his mushroom-picking expedition. This could be dangerous in just a few moments. Now back to Fibber McGee and Molly.
Find your cookbook, dearie?
No, but it must be here somewhere in this... Ah, here it is. Right where I put it. Between the moose head and my old mandolin.
Heavenly days, the way that stuff falls out of here. Don't tell me you know where to look for things.
Why, sure, I got it organized. I always throw it in the closet in the same order, and it always falls out in the same order. That's scientific and logical. See? Snowshoes go in first. Then the moose head. Bull moose. Then the tennis racket. And the ice skates.
Then the skid chains?
No, then the camera tripod. And then the skid chain. Now all the little stuff. Ring outfit, picture frames, tennis rackets. Last, my old mandolin. Well, that takes you. Hey, where's my cookbook?
Back in the closet between the moose head and the mandolin.
What? You mean I threw it back in the... Oh, well. Beulah's probably got a good recipe for mushrooms anyway. Hey, Beulah. Oh, Beulah.
Somebody bawl for Beulah?
Yes, Beulah. Mr. McGee wishes to discuss tonight's dinner menu with you. It's a sort of a culinary last will and testament.
Last who and which, ma'am?
Skip it, Beulah. Look, we're going to have steak and mushrooms for dinner tonight.
Can you handle an assignment like that, Beulah?
Miss McGee, ma'am, this is equivalent to asking Mr. Kaiser, can he build a rowboat? Mushrooms is one of the fondest things I am of cooking. I got me a prescription for mushroom gravy I've been just itching to try out.
Well, you can scratch now.
I can scratch now. My, he start right off. I was fixing to cook some grease for dinner tonight, but I can hold him till tomorrow.
You were going to fix what for tonight?
Some grease.
Grease? What kind of grease?
Just plain little old grease.
Huh?
Mr. Toop sent him over. Been in deep freeze since he went hunting last fall.
Oh, you mean grouse.
Well, there's two of them, ma'am. Two grouses is grease, ain't they?
No, Beulah. The plural is the same as the singular, like fish.
Yes, I sure do. Particular catfish, but I better get down to the grocery and get the stuff up. You know, I like to select the mushrooms myself.
Oh, just get a steak, Beulah. Mr. McGee already has the mushrooms.
Somebody give them to you, sir?
Nope. I picked them myself out by the brewery this morning, Beulah.
Oh.
What do you mean, oh?
I was just rehearsing a phone call to the hospital, sir. 00729.
Hospital?
My pop always said that when you pick your own mushrooms, you was taking a long chance on a short life.
Now, let's not be silly about this. I'll take the entire responsibility. I'll cook the mushrooms myself. After all, my reputation and these mushrooms will be just alike.
How do you mean, McGee?
They'll both be at stake, won't they?
His reputation in mushroom is sticky. Love that man.
Look, McGee, you're not really serious about eating those toads or those mushrooms, are you?
Why, certainly I am. Mushrooms are good for you. Full of vitamins and iodine. Iodine is good for the thyroid.
Thyroid.
Huh?
It isn't sty, it's thigh, if you'll pardon the expression.
Well, anyway, everybody knows mushrooms are highly nourishing. And there isn't anybody that...
Hello, folks.
Hello, Mr. Wilcox.
Hi, Junior. You like mushrooms?
Why, I love them. You want some? I'll tell you where to get them. Go see my cousin, Big Ozzie Wilcox. He's on 14th Street there. You tell him
No,
that...
Mr. Wilcox, no.
Pardon?
I got some, Junior. A whole bag of them. Just wondered if you'd be in the mood for a mushroom dinner tonight. With steak.
Would I? Say, if you're having steak and mushrooms, you couldn't blast me out of here with a blockbuster. You mind if I call my wife and tell her I won't be home?
Go right ahead, Mr. Wilcox, but I think McGee ought to tell you that he picked...
I picked you to have dinner with me, Junior, because I and you are mushroom lovers. Go on, call the little woman and tell her you're tying on the nose bag over here tonight. Here.
Okay. Hello, operator. Give me Wistful Vista 13724. That's right.
Look, McGee, I think you ought to warn Mr. Wilcox those mushrooms aren't exactly...
Hello, Punky Wunk. This is sweet stuff.
Oh, my God. Been married 5 years and still Cupid stupid.
Listen, Fudge Puss. I won't be home for dinner tonight. No, with Fibber and Molly. Steak and mushrooms. Yeah, sure, I'll be thinking of you, baby, when I put sugar in my coffee.
Is this drip really necessary, Junior?
Quiet, pal, I can't hear. What'd you say, Snooky Pook? She did. Well, I'm sorry I wasn't there, but if she calls back, television's wax is the perfect way to protect leather goods. Yeah, and tell her about how it protects lampshades and windowsills and floors and furniture, too, against wear and dirt and dampness.
You know, you'd think she'd know that story as well as he does by this time.
She probably hung up on him long ago, and he's just talking for our benefit. He's always...
What's that, baby? Oh, sure. Wax saves hours of housework because it makes surfaces so much easier to keep clean. Well, tell her I'll send her a folder from the office. Okay, lamb chop. Huh? Oh, wait a minute. I'll find out. What time are you having dinner, Molly?
Well, about 6:30, Mr. Wilcox. McGee is cooking it himself, so it'll probably be a little later than usual.
Yeah, nobody else will have anything to do with these mushrooms, Junior, in spite of the fact I picked them myself.
You picked them yourself? Hello, Angel Puss. I've changed my mind. I'll be home for dinner. Yeah, bye now. Gee, I'm sorry, folks. I just remembered I've got to sit up with a sick friend tonight.
Who?
You. So long now.
My gosh, you'd think I was deliberately going out of my way to poison everybody.
Oh, not everybody, dearie. Just a few intimate friends. Look, let's throw out these mushrooms or toadstools, as the case may be. Throw them out in the alley.
No, sir, by George. Now I got my back up. I don't care how many other rats desert the sinking ship. I'm staying with it. I'm having these mushrooms for dinner tonight if they... Well, I'm having them.
All right, Pet. I only hope you do get Dr. Gamble to come for dinner. Though who'll take care of him, I don't know. I'll go out and fix the salad. At least I'll have the satisfaction of knowing that's okay.
Okay. There goes a good kid. I can read her like a book. She'll watch Doc and me for a couple hours after dinner, and if we don't fold up, she'll sneak out and eat the rest of the mushrooms. Only there won't be any more mushrooms. Between me and Doc, we can account for it. Come in.
Hi, mister.
Oh, hi, Teeny. Come on in.
Gee, what you got in the bag, mister? Candy, mister? Can I have a piece? Can I have a piece?
Now, if it was candy, you'd connive a piece, all right, sir. It happens to be a bag of mushrooms. I says this bag is full of mushrooms. You know what mushrooms are?
Sure I do, I bet you. My daddy told me.
He did, eh? I says he did, eh?
He did what?
Your daddy told you what mushrooms are.
I know it. What are they?
Well, they're not particularly beautiful, sis. They look like the buttons off your Uncle Elmer's old overcoat. But properly cooked, they make old ladies leap up and kiss the busboy. Here, take a look.
Oh, Jiminy, toadstools.
They are not toadstools. They're mushrooms. And there's a lots of difference.
What is the difference, mister?
You mean you never heard about the origin of mushrooms and toadstools, sis?
No.
Well, sir, it's a fascinating little hunk of natural history, sis.
Oh?
Recline in that rocker and rest your rompers while I give you the lowdown.
Okay, mister. Gee, you haven't told me a story for a long time.
Well, this is a doozer, sis. Once upon a time...
I've heard it.
You haven't heard this one. I'm ad-libbing. Skip it.
Okay.
Once upon a time, there was a great forest that was full of little people. You know about the little people?
Sure I do, I bet you. I'm one of them.
I mean little people like elves and pixies and leprechauns and fairies.
Oh?
Well, sir, half of these little people were bad little people, and half of them were good little people.
Gee.
Yes, sir. The good little people were always happy. Swimming in the buttercups after the rain, eating honey out of the flowers, listening to Jack in the Pulpit on Sundays and everything. But the bad little people were always snarling and nasty to each other and to the good little people.
Oh?
Well, even good people won't stand being pushed around too much. So one day they had a terrible battle there in the woods. Oh, they were throwing acorns, beating the bejunior out of each other with twigs, throwing each other into gopher holes, just generally raising Cain.
Oh?
And finally, the king of the forest heard the ruckus and told him to break it up, quit the quarreling. But the bad little people wouldn't, and the good little people couldn't. And that made the king angry. And he waved his magic wand, and boom! The good little people were turned into mushrooms, and the bad little people were turned into toadstools. That's why toadstools are so poisonous and mushrooms are so good. See?
Gee, that's a wonderful story, mister.
I thought it was pretty good myself.
I can hardly wait to tell my teacher. I bet you it'll revise her entire schedule of nature study, I bet you.
Huh? What do you mean?
You know what? She's still laboring under the delusion that mushrooms and toadstools are a clammy fungus growth that live parasitically upon decaying vegetable matter and are produced from thread-like spores disseminated by the wind and grazing animals. Just wait till I tell her that the lack of chlorophyll has little or nothing to do with their development.
You're listening to the Fibber McGee and Molly Show on the Golden Age of Radio Theater. Don't go away. Now back to Jim and Marion Jordan as Fibber McGee and Molly.
Gee, I'm sorry you're so stubborn, Molly. You're just doing yourself out of a wonderful steak and mushroom dinner. Boy, when you see Doc Gamble and me tearing into them mushrooms...
Oh, Dr. Gamble, did you finally get him?
Oh, sure, didn't I tell you? Oh, I got him. The minute I said steak and mushrooms over the phone, he let out a holler, and you could hear him knocking patients right and left, trying to get out of his office. How's Beulah coming with the steak?
Oh, it looks beautiful, but I'm afraid I'm not going to enjoy it much. I can't sit there and eat calmly while my husband deliberately poisons himself.
Don't talk silly, Molly. I wouldn't eat them if I didn't know they were good. I guarantee every one of these mushrooms personally.
That's going to be a lot of help when the coroner starts patting my hand and tells me to be brave, though.
Pooh for the coroner. That political hyena has... my dinner guest. Come in, come in, come in.
Hello, Doctor.
Hello, Molly. Hello, McGee, my dear boy. You know what you've done?
What have I done, Doc, old sock?
You've made me a very happy man. Steak and mushrooms.
Well, personally, Doctor, I'm glad you came. I think it's always nice to have a physician around at dinner time in case, well, if something should develop, I mean...
What she's worried about, Doc, is that these mushrooms might be toadstools.
Why, you silly girl. In 23 years of medical practice, I've learned every possible way in which people can make darn fools of themselves. But I've never had a case of mushroom poisoning when the purchase was made from a reputable dealer. Did I say something wrong? What are you staring at each other for? Well, speak up. What's the matter?
Tell it, McGee.
Well, Dad, Brad, it's just because a guy goes out into the woods and picks a mess of mushrooms and asks a friend...
Wait a minute. You picked your own mushrooms?
Yes, I did.
Why, you murderous little maverick?
What?
You combination of Jack the Ripper, Lucretia Borgia, Jekyll and Hyde, and baby-faced Nelson? You perjuring little poisoner?
On the other hand, Doctor, they
On the other hand, brass knuckles. Does this half-baked nature faker think he has a gift for picking edible mushrooms out of 30,000 varieties of deadly fungi?
Now, just a darn minute, Dr. Jamble. You don't eat a thing...
Neither do you, you ignorant ninny. Well, you got a lot of moxie inviting me over here for a, quote, mushroom, unquote, dinner. Couldn't you kill me off some easy way? Attach a bomb to my self-starter, push me off a cliff, even stab me. But toadstools... Cat.
Yes, but Doctor, maybe...
You just let me explain.
You're lucky you're not explaining this to the district attorney, you bloated little bluebeard. If I only... Say, look, you're serving the steak and mushrooms separately?
Oh, yes, Doctor. I'm going to have some steak myself.
Yeah, I thought it might be better.
It might be better if I stayed, yes. I think so, too. I'm starved for a steak, and I'll be handy when little stupid here starts to fold up. Excuse me a minute.
Hey, where are you going, Doc?
Out to the car to get my satchel.
Huh?
I want to have everything ready when you start screaming and turning blue.
Well, I'll go see about the salad.
I'll run over to the drugstore and get some cigars. We'll be ready. Well, that was wonderful. More steak, Doc?
No thanks, McGee. I'm so full of beef now, I'm afraid I'll meet Roy Rogers on the way home.
Shall we have coffee in the living room, boys?
Oh, let's wait and have it in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. How do you feel, McGee?
Who, me? Oh, I feel fine, Doc. Kind of full, but otherwise great. You kids passed up a wonderful dish when you refused the mushrooms. There's still a couple left. Who wants them? Okay, I'll finish them myself. Shame to throw them out.
Any symptoms of cramp, McGee? Any sensation of nausea?
Well, I know, Doc. I feel wonderful. Only thing I'm suffering from is loss of appetite.
Well, how soon can I breathe easy, Doctor?
Oh, give him another 10 minutes, Molly. If nothing happens, I'm going to write an article for the AMA Journal. We're making medical history. Any man who has the colossal effrontery to pick his own mushrooms and eat them is crowding his luck too far.
Doggone it, I tried to explain to you about that, but you kept shouting at me, so I shut up.
Explain about what, dearie?
About how everybody was so nervous about my own mushrooms that I threw them out.
What? Why, you...
Why, I ran over to the grocery and got these. Hey, where's the toothpicks? I feel terrible. Am I going to live, Doc? Am I going to live?
Yes, my boy. It's a cosmic injustice, but you'll live to make a pig of yourself many more times. Give him 2 more of these pills in an hour, Molly.
No.
Was it the mushrooms, Doctor?
It was indeed. Not the quality, but the quantity. Just remember this, McGee. More people die from a fork in the mouth than from a knife in the back. Good night.
Oh, good night.
Good night, all.
This has been the Fibber McGee and Molly Show from January 9th, 1945. The laughs continue now with Edgar, Bergen, and Charlie McCarthy from 1944.
It's Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy. Mortimer Snerd, Ray Noble, his orchestra and chorus, 14-year-old Jayne Powell, Ernie Newton, yours truly, Bill Goodwin, and Charlie's very special guest, Orson Welles. Hey, Charlie.
What is it, Mr. Goodwin?
Charlie, there's a fella outside to see you. He says he's a truant officer.
Yeah. Truant officer? Mm-hmm. Well, Charlie, what have you been up to now? Well, I don't know. I don't know, mister. I only missed 3 days this week. You only missed 3 days? Well, I only missed 3 weeks this month. What's that? I don't know what I mean. I don't know.
He had a message for you, Charlie.
What did he say?
Well, I'll whisper it to you, shall I?
Yes.
April Fool.
Oh, you witty fellow, you witty fellow.
Don't you like that?
Yes.
Well, now, don't get sore, Charlie. It was only a gag.
Yes, you and your gags, you. Why can't you be satisfied with just looking funny? Honestly, if it isn't one thing, it's another with you. It's always.
What's wrong now, little pal?
Well, for one thing, when you introduced me, you can give me a little more fanfare.
Oh. Well, you see, I figured you were so small that you could travel on half fanfare.
Yes. Well, go ahead. Laugh while you can, Goodwin. Go ahead.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I just happened to have a letter from Mr. Sanborn. That's all. That's all. Just that. That's all.
Well, yes. Well, what about it?
Well, I just happen to have it. That's all.
Well?
Mm-hmm. Don't look now, but your pink slip is showing. You're on your way out, brother.
Oh,
Yeah.
how delightfully ridiculous. I have a great future ahead of me.
Have you?
Why, I'll be perfect for television.
No.
Get a load of this profile.
Oh, I've seen better profiles on a jellyfish.
Well, that may be your opinion, Charlie. My friends tell me I'm too cute for words.
Not for the no. Now, to get back to Mr. Sanborn's letter.
I have some news for you, Charlie.
Yes?
Sanborn doesn't worry me. It so happens that Mr. Chase and I are just like that.
Oh, you and Chase.
That's right.
Oh, is that so?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're drinking out of the wrong saucer, brother. Sanborn is the head man.
Oh, he is.
Yes, he is.
Well, what did he have to say? I suppose they want to make this the Bill Goodwin program. I rather like that, too. I can see it now.
Yes.
Bill Goodwin presents.
Yeah, that's right. Just keep talking, brother. Just keep talking. You're really asking for it now.
Charlie, if you have a letter from Mr. Sanborn, I think you ought to read it.
Very well, I will. I quote. Mr. Goodwin, I quote.
Yes, well, quote. Quote all you like.
Yes, it says here, Dear Charlie. See, you notice he calls me Charlie.
Yes,
see?
yes.
Friendly, you know. Oh, yes. As I was sitting here waiting for my coffee roaster to warm up, I thought I would dash off a few lines to you. Here I am, always roasting. Sometimes I regret having made such a fine blend. Notice he even gets a plug in there.
Oh, yes, he knows how to use his bean.
Yeah. Oh.
Coffee bean, you see.
No, please, no, enough is enough. I read on. Charles, I sincerely regret not having taken your advice about one Bill Goodmeyer or Goodrich or whatever his name might be. That's you, see, or whatever your name is. I thought his last lecture on coffee was enough to put anyone on a milk diet, see that? And as for his acting, I take this slower. As for his acting, I have only two things to say. P.U. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, but I think he's wrong about that. And my fan mail will prove it.
Ooh.
Only the other day I got a very nice letter from a girl.
And what did your sister have to say?
Oh, now, I don't see what Sanborn is squawking about. Statistics prove he's wrong. Statistics.
Yes. Can you say coffee?
I can.
Yes.
The coffee sales are going up, and that must mean something.
It does mean something. It means the coffee's so good, nothing you can say will hurt it.
Well, gee, fellas, that doesn't seem like fair treatment.
No.
I've always tried to be square.
And you have been square. You have been square. A square peg in a round hole. That's
Well, gee, when I took this job, I was fired with enthusiasm.
Yes, and it looks like you're going to leave the same way.
Oh, Charlie.
Oh, I love this.
my little pal.
Yes.
You wouldn't call me lazy, would you? After all, I am a go-getter.
You are a go-getter?
Yes, I'm a go-getter.
A go-getter. That's nice. Well, go get another job, that's all.
Do you mean that this is it, that I'm fired?
Oh, come. Let us say, rather, that you're being transferred out of the organization. But remember, Bill, no matter what happens, I'm with you. I'm going to do what I can for you.
Oh, well, thanks, Charlie, and I'll do something for you sometime.
Oh, no. I couldn't think of accepting money.
I didn't mention money.
Well, don't you think you better?
Well, I wish you'd help me out a little. Just what is it about me that Mr. Sanborn doesn't like?
I shall be very happy to read further. Dear Charlie. You see, he calls me Charlie.
Yes, we know that. He calls you Charlie.
Yes. I covered this. Furthermore, I despise fellows who play practical jokes, especially April Fool jokes, especially a day late. Especially when their name is Goodmeyer or
Just a minute. Just a moment.
That's what he said.
How could Mr. Sanborn have that in his letter?
Well, it's right
I
here.
just pulled the joke a minute ago.
Yeah. Well, there's the airmail, it's fast, It is so fast, airmail. It's just, and there you are. That's the way it is.
Let me see that letter, Charlie.
Oh, no, you don't, Bergen. No, the ink isn't dry yet. Well, now, let me have it. Take your hands off that letter, Bergen. You couldn't read my writing anyway.
Oh, you little forger.
Mr. Bergen,
Yes, Jane?
you must have an awful time with Charlie.
Yes, I do.
I'll never believe anything he tells me after what he did to Mr. Goodwin.
Well, he does enjoy his little pranks.
Of course. But you can't help but like him, though, because he has such a wonderful sense of humor, hasn't he?
Yes. I guess he does take after me a little.
Well, he's very fortunate to have you, Mr. Bergen.
Why do you say that, Jane?
Well, you elderly men are so interesting.
Yes. Miss Powell, aren't you going to sing for us today?
Yes. I have a song by Jerome Kern. It's I've Told Every Little Star.
Oh, I'd like that.
I've told every little star just how sweet I think you are. Why haven't I told you? I've told ripples in the brook, made my heart an open book. Why haven't I told you? Friends ask me, am I in love? I always answer yes. Might as well confess if I don't say yes. Maybe you may know it too. Oh, my darling, if you do, why haven't you told me?
I've told every little star just how sweet I think you are. Why haven't I told you?
Friends ask me, am I in love? I always answer yes. Might as well confess if I don't say yes. Maybe you may know it too. Oh, my darling, if you do, why haven't you
You're listening to Bergen and McCarthy from, this would be January, February, March, April. Yes, April 2nd, 1944. We'll be back in just a few moments. Now back to Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy with special guest stars Jayne Powell and Orson Welles.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your obedient servant, Orson Welles. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sis. Now, tonight I'm going to do a play.
Wait a minute here. What's going on here? Whose show is this? Well, now, just a moment here. Orson, why didn't you wait and let me give you a proper introduction?
Please, Edgar, an introduction would be superfluous.
Now, wait a minute. Now,
Do not be impatient, little fellow. I have written a play, and there are parts for all of you, you lucky people.
What is there about you that gets you? Oh.
Charlie, Orson Welles, in my opinion, is one of the most colorful men in the theater today. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Edgar.
How would you like my opinion of Orson Welles?
Be careful, sir. You're speaking of the man I love.
Well, you don't have to laugh all day at it. Your modesty is so refreshing.
Well, Charlie, you must admit that Mr. Welles has made some outstanding contributions to the entertainment world.
Oh, that's very nice of you, Edgar. I suppose I do have some claim to fame.
That's right, that's right. You did marry Rita Hayworth.
Now, Charlie, I think we should let Orson Welles tell us about the play he's written.
I don't like it. Oh, that's fine.
But, Charlie, I've written it especially for you.
Oh, then you have a hit on your hands. Give us a thumb-nose description of it.
Well, in the past, I have concentrated on the serious drama, but this time I've delved into the realm of whimsy and fantasy.
Quick. Yes, quick. Press my cravat.
Because Easter is only a week off, I thought it'd be only right that we give due honor to that hard-working little creature of the forest, the Easter Bunny.
Oh. That is sweet. Only you could have thought of that. What is it called?
The pathological evolution of the Ortilagus cuniculus. That is the working title.
Yes. I should say it is. I think it's too much work to say it. If you don't mind my making a suggestion.
Oh, not at all. I appreciate your opinion as well as that of a person who knows what he's talking about. Suppose we just call it Itsy Bitsy Bunny Boo.
You ruffian.
The whole play centers around the Easter Bunny, which is the leading role.
Who plays the leading role?
Oh, you fool, you.
This is not my day. Well, what do I play, if I may ask?
You play the part of a very wise old owl to whom all the animals come with their problems.
Oh, I get it. Sort of a Mr. Anthony with feathers, huh?
Are we ready? Places, everybody. Music. Curtain. Imagine, if you will, the forest primeval. A woodland awakening where the morning steals upon the night, melting the darkness. The all-cheering sun begins to draw the shady curtains from Aurora's bed. The slant of its rays causing the dewdrops to glisten like the opalescent rubies in Queen Mab's fairy crown.
This will set radio back 20 years.
I am a happy, merry, mischievous little bunny, and I am tripping through the forest.
What's your name? Hopalong Caster?
Quiet. Here I come. Lippity-lip, lippity-lip, lippity-lip. Ouch. It's a heck of a place to leave a bear trap.
Well, it's always this way on opening night. Please go on.
Ah, yes. At last I approached the ancient oak tree wherein dwells the wise old owl.
Who is there?
It is I, Orson Bunny. Would you help a poor rabbit in trouble?
Certainly. What kind of trouble would you like to get into?
Oh, great wise one, have pity on me. You see before you a creature bowed in spirit and saddled with the weight of an unending sorrow.
Well, what's eating you, kid?
They tell me, old owl, that you are the wise one. You know all.
Oh, that is true. I explore the infinite, unscrew the inscrutable. What's your problem?
Well, I have a terrific problem. I'm a rabbit. Next week is Easter, and I have the egg concession for the White House lawn.
You are very fortunate.
But I can't get dyes for my eggs.
What are you going to do?
Well, I think I'll write a letter to the dyes committee. It says here. I did not write this. It says I wrote the play. I did not write this, Bill. Bergen cast me the role of the playwright. I knew what he was doing it for. He wanted to blame me for the material.
Well, you had it coming, though. Mr. Wells, did you have any help on this play, or did you louse it up yourself?
I've been trying to explain to our listeners that if they just tune in on Wednesday night, they'd hear me in an entirely different kind of material. On Wednesday night.
Yes, or any other night for Chase and Sanborn coffee. It's always refreshing.
Thank you for mentioning that. I'd like to explain that right along here, the play is supposed to get better.
Well, why doesn't it?
Now, what were we talking about?
Oh, yes, that's right. Well, you were an Easter bunny, and you just laid an egg, remember?
Yes, I'm back to producing again.
Yes.
Thank you.
What do you say we get back to the play for a change now? Now, I'm a wise old owl, you know.
Frankly, I've seen better owls in drugstores. I'm sorry, people. Wednesday night's an entirely different line of thought. We'll change it to Liggett. Frankly, I'll give it to you again.
Yeah.
Frankly, I've seen better owls in drugstores.
Well, now, just a moment. I'll have you know that I'm listed among the Who's Hoot. That could have gone out, too.
Yes. Now, back to the play.
Yes.
Mr. Owl, my big problem is...
Now, just a minute. Here comes Sherman the stork.
And all that sort of thing, don't you know?
Now, that's acting, Orson. That is acting. Tell me, Mr. Stork, do you still believe in you, Stork?
Yes, I'm so gullible.
You're the funniest looking stork I ever saw. Aren't you a little bow-legged?
Well, yes. I used to work for Papa Dion, you know.
No names, please. No names. Now, come, Stork. What's your problem?
Problem? Just look at these bruises on my fuselage.
Oh, you poor bird. How did you get them?
Oh, that Bing Crosby's always throwing stones at me.
Now, will you get out of here and quit wasting my time?
Now to get back to my problem.
Precisely.
I've always had hard luck.
Well, Mr. Bunny, why don't you carry a rabbit's foot in your pocket?
I tried it, but I just couldn't walk on 3 legs.
My advice to you would be... Interruptions. Come in.
Excuse me, fellas.
Who are you?
I'm a skunk.
I know, Goodwin, but who are you in the play?
Now, let me play my part, will you, Charlie? No, really, fellas, I'm a skunk. My name is Eureka.
You certainly do.
What's your trouble?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't feel so good. Last night I got stinko.
Well, you've got a nasty hangover today.
You know, I don't have a friend in the world.
Well, if I might suggest, your perfume is a little too obvious.
Either that or your brakes are burning.
Gee whiz, nobody hardly ever talks to me. And worse than that, I got to move out of my house.
Pourquoi?
Well, a family of goats moved in next door.
What's wrong with that?
My goodness, do you think I'd associate with those smelly things?
Please, Mr. Owl. Mr. Owl. Popular, isn't he?
I see no reason for applause
No,
there.
I don't either, Charlie. We agree for the first time
The
this
man
afternoon.
only played a part of a skunk.
That's right.
But he did it well. As you were saying...
Yes. Please, Mr. Owl. Back in Carrick. You haven't heard my biggest problem.
All right, Bunny, what is it?
I'm a rabbit,
And my landlord hates children.
Oh. What is wrong with a patter of little feet?
Nothing. But at my house, it's a thundering herd.
Oh.
And that's the Bergen and McCarthy Show from April 2nd, 1944. In just a moment, we'll be back to talk about Bill Stern's Sports Newsreel. A listener from upstate New York wants to know, were the stories on Bill Stern's Sports Newsreel true? Well, to be perfectly honest with you, no. And they weren't advertised as true. Each show contained a disclaimer which indicated some were legend, but all so interesting we'd like to pass them along to you.
C-O-L-G-A-T-E, Colgate presents Bill Stern
with a Colgate Sports Newsreel.
Bill Stern, the Colgate Shakery Man, is on the air. Bill Stern, the Colgate Shakery Man, with stories rare. Take his advice and you'll look keen. You'll get a shave that's smooth and clean. You'll be a Colgate brushless fan.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Bill Stern bringing you the 255th edition of the Colgate Sports Newsreel. Our guest tonight is the most famous mind reader in the world, Mr. Dunninger. But first, Reel 1, Profile of Big League Baseball's beginning. Did you ever wonder about the beginning of Big League Baseball, how it came to be organized? Well, there's quite a story behind this. But let's begin the story in the beginning. Baseball as a sport actually began to be popular way back in 1845. Oh, there were no organized leagues then, and only a few teams. One of these baseball teams came out of Indiana. It wasn't the best baseball team in America, but it was the roughest. It was made up of crooks and counterfeiters who could play a little baseball and who decided to travel around the country cleaning up the easy money that the public was willing to pay back in those days to see any kind of a baseball team. However, back in 1875, the public became fed up with these ball players' dirty playing and stopped going to see these crooks play baseball. That meant there was no more money coming in for them. They needed money badly. So one day, they hit on a daring plan. This baseball team decided to go back to stealing. Only, believe it or not, this time they decided to try and steal the body of Abraham Lincoln from its tomb. They'd only return Lincoln's body if they were paid $250,000. It was a fantastic plan. Abraham Lincoln was buried at Springfield, Illinois. And so, on the night of November the 6th, 1876, these former baseball players actually went to Springfield, Illinois, sawed off the lock on Lincoln's tomb, crept inside, and began to steal the coffin that contained the body of Abraham Lincoln when they were caught red-handed by the police. But the crooks were not as dumb as you might think. For at their trial, they argued that since there was no law then in Illinois against stealing a body, they had therefore committed no crime. And strange as it seems, they were right. And the most the court could give them was 12 months in jail for disturbing the peace. After they'd served their short sentences, these men came out of prison and again tried to form a baseball team, figuring that the notoriety they'd achieved in trying to steal Lincoln's body would make the public curious to again see them play. And they might have started playing baseball again had not all the decent baseball teams in America tried to stop them. And the decent baseball teams did stop them by banding together and forming an organization to keep those crooks out.
Super showman Bill Stern brought such drama and color to his broadcast that listeners failed to note that his various stories were utter fiction, at least most of the time, and that his play-by-play commentaries were so overstated they had no resemblance whatever to actual games. Bill Stern knew how to use his marvelous delivery and the medium of radio to enthrall audiences in a way few have ever accomplished. His Colgate Sports Newsreel began October 8th, 1939, and Bill Stern stayed on the air till 1956. Stern passed away in 1971. By the way, if you'd enjoy hearing some of his legendary broadcasts on our show, write to us and let us know. We'll try to include one or two of them from time to time. That's it for the Golden Age of Radio Theater. This time, Victor Ives speaking, inviting you to join us next time we turn back the clock and once again relive the golden moments of radio's yesteryear with some of the greatest radio entertainment of all time.
For a copy of today's program, call 1-800-326-0296 and refer to show number 39. That number again is 1-800-326-0296. And remember to refer to show number 39.